Great. Happy that she was able to join us. Um, have you heard anything from Councilwoman Lipka?
I haven't. I have not. I thought the message said she wasn't going to be at 6, but maybe I
Okay,
read that and it was 6 and 7.
okay. We will excuse her, okay? Okay. Good evening and welcome to the City of Ferguson City Council meeting, October 13, 2020. Our opening ceremony will call the meeting to order. Let us stand for a silent prayer. After the silent prayer, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Okay, the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Pittman, could you please take the attendance?
Councilman Fry.
Here.
Councilwoman Griffin.
Here.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Here.
Councilwoman Robinette.
Here.
Mayor Jones.
Here.
Councilwoman Lipka is absent. Councilman Garrett.
Here.
A quorum is present. We have our public comments. The citizen comments were accepted via email prior to the meeting by Monday, October the 12th at 5 p.m. Clerk Pittman, do you have any comments that were submitted?
I just have one tonight. And that's from Erica Brooks, and it says, Ferguson's low-income Black neighborhoods are entrenched with boarded up and derelict trap houses. They are prime real estate for drug dealers, pest weeds, and high crime spots without justice, devalued properties. On Sunday, September 27, 2020, I became a victim of a structure hit because my son and I are concerned Black residents who has been independent volunteering to clean up Ward 2 on my dime, according to Missouri State's Bill 203, the Good Neighbor Bill. Whereas when white citizens take pride in Ferguson, there's no pushback or question if they are doing the right thing for the city. Us, on the other hand, I, Erica M. Brooks, was assaulted. My thumb and shoulder were sprained. My tape recorder SD inside it and my phone were stolen while a prominent community leader watched, and it didn't turn him in. I'm sorry. The Ferguson police didn't want to go ask her because they said she wouldn't talk. Where's the integrity in all the levels of Ferguson's authority? In addition, I was the team leader for the Ferguson citywide cleanup team leader for Ward 2. So I was surveying Ward 2 to prepare for the cleanup meeting the next day. However, this lying thug who is still walking the streets of Ferguson and has not been arrested for assaulting me came running out of a vacant house he claimed he had bought 417 Dade Avenue. Come to find out, it's owned by St. Louis County. The city of Ferguson needs to get its pride off its shoulders because citizens are tired of trap houses, pest weeds, and lack of enforcement of codes in the Black neighborhoods. It could have cost me my life because of the lack of concern and justice. That's the only one I have.
Okay. We have heard her comments and the staff will govern themselves accordingly. Okay. The manager's report. Interim City Manager Jeff Bloom, would you please make your report at this time?
I will. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. We have a number of reports tonight. I'm going to change the order a little bit because Captain Zielman is running House 2 right now, and just in case he gets a call, we'll start with him so we can give him time to move out if that needs to happen. So Captain Zielman, would you please report on our COVID efforts today?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Bloom. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Madam Mayor and Council, other members here, council members. Since Chief Hampton is unavailable, it's my honor to give you guys updates from the fire department's point. As for COVID updates, it's just pretty brief. The number of in-town reported positive case locations has increased slightly from the last meeting. As of today, there are 94 addresses in the city of Ferguson with confirmed cases. That doesn't tell us how many actual infected there are, just the addresses. All members of the FD that have tested positive or were in precautionary quarantine are now back on full duty. So that's a good thing. As for PPE, protective equipment, we're really in really good shape regarding that. And all the city buildings are still being sprayed with this disinfectant weekly, and vehicles by Public Works. As for St. Louis County, they've eased some of the restrictions, such as all team sports are now being able to be played. Businesses can be open with 50% occupancy. Bars can be open until 10 p.m. But a full list of these can be found on the county website, or we do have a link to it on the city website under the COVID section. That's pretty much it for the COVID part of it. As for a couple of our personnel updates, Assistant Chief Skaggs, his injury, he's recovering well and is expected to return to duty in a few weeks. So that's great. And one of our firefighters that is out on a work comp injury, he just had surgery and is expected to return to duty in late January or early February. So that's all I have. Pretty brief and to the point. Any questions?
Wish him a speedy recovery.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's all I have. So.
And any other questions for Captain Zielman? All right. Thank you very much, Captain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to call on Chief Armstrong to make his community policing update report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. See if I can share my screen. Yes. All right, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to give the community policing report. And so one of the things I wanted to start out talking about is social media to a certain extent. And, you know, I've seen some comments and some things going back and forth on social media about stuff. And so I want to try to do my due diligence in explaining those things, you know, so you all in the public, you know, have a better understanding of what's been going on and what's been happening. So one of the things that we've implemented here and what we're trying to, some of the changes that we're undergoing here in the police department is we're trying to do a better job of tracking and coding the work that the officers are doing. Because historically, you know, we have codes that we use, but they weren't necessarily used for public observation. And we didn't have a mechanism in place to where, you know, we were trying to push information out to the public to see what was going on. So what you're looking at on the screen here is the code that we use for traffic enforcement. And so what this is if an officer goes to an area to sit there and observe traffic and monitor the traffic and violations and such, they use this code when they go out there. So anytime that they hold out on the computer with this code is when you may see them just sitting somewhere. And so you see we have the list of addresses here. And so one of the things that we're working on right now, so the public cannot see this on our website and our dashboards. The way that we have the dashboard set up currently, it doesn't give an address, it just gives a sector number. And so, I've been talking with our data analysts, and we're trying to see if we can get that updated to where for this code, when we talk about the traffic enforcement, it gives the address, it shows the address, so the public can see where the officers are setting up when they go looking for traffic violations and such. Because we see a lot of comments and people say, well, that they never see us out there, or we never do anything, or we're not trying to do anything about, the speeding and how bad some of the driving is. But this is what the officers are actually doing. And so you can see, and I plan on posting this on our social media next door, tomorrow or this evening. So the public kind of gets a snapshot of what we've been doing. And this just started up in September when we started implementing these codes and really just giving some direct guidance to the officers and how we wanted them to use these codes. And so you can see some of the streets, that they've been, setting up on. Dade, Chambers, West Florissant. Chambers is one of our big complaint areas, especially the area Chambers and Elizabeth. And so you'll see a lot of activity on that. This is just moving down further on the list. And so what this looks like, and one of the things that I wanted to convey this evening is we don't see all of the social media posts that people put on social media when they're complaining about the different things. And so, that shouldn't be the only mechanism, that the public uses to try to let us know, where the issues are, where their complaints are. Neighborhood association meetings, you can call up here to dispatch and give them a location. We still have the email address that we were using, the Ferguson report at fergusoncity.com. The public can send that in, because anytime we get this information, locations that we know about, we load it into, it's called the desk book, is what's in our computer system. And what it is just a pass-on log. And that's where we direct the officers to go and look for the new complaints and information that has come up. And so a good example of this, and so I believe Mayor Jones, I believe Councilwoman Burrow and Councilwoman Robinette were all in the Old Ferguson West Neighborhood Association meeting with me a few weeks ago. And so some of the streets that came up were Mueller, Plaza, I believe Dade, were some of the streets that they talked about. And so we can see here at the bottom of this list, is, officers went there. And so they went there to monitor the traffic there, because after I came out of that meeting, I loaded the streets into our desk book that the residents passed on to me that evening. And so that's what, that's how we can utilize this and how we can better work together, and just trying to direct the officers in where they need to go, is we have to make sure that we get the information. And so just going to social media and putting a post in there's no guarantee that we're going to see that. Now, some residents may see it and they may reach out to me or send some information to us. But the best way to ensure that we're getting the information is to either email us at the email address or call into dispatch and provide them with that information. And so this is the rest of the list. And so you see here, so it totals it up. So officers just since September, the beginning of September, have done 65 details throughout the city where they're going and they're parked or they're posted up looking for, the traffic violations and complaints that we're getting in some of our most notable areas, or the areas where we see, accidents, happen the most, and we're trying to get some visibility going. And so, I understand, the public's frustration with things. And especially when you see things go on and you don't see a police car there. But, we've had 65 in little less than a month and a half. And so we're averaging close to 2 a day, where officers are going out in different parts of the city, trying to be more visible and take more action, with the traffic safety measures that we have in place. And so, I know if people, don't see them, then they feel as though that they're never out there. But we're going to work on trying to get this updated and see if we can provide more information on the dashboard when it comes to this. What you're looking at on the screen now is a new code that we just added in there that we're starting to use now. And so this one is called directed patrols. And so what this code is going to be used for is, another thing that we see and some of the information that makes its way back to me is residents saying that they never see a police officer drive through their neighborhood or drive on their street. And so we've created a code. So when we get that information, just like the traffic complaints, we can load that information into our desk book and our pass on. So the officers that are on patrol that day, they can see, where residents are asking, for more patrols in their areas. And so, like I said, we just got this up and running within the last week or so. And so, we still got to get the officers acclimated to using this and how we hold out on this. This one is going to be a little bit different, and we're still working on what this could look like on the website, because some of these are actual specific addresses. And some of this stuff, we don't want to necessarily publicize, a specific address. And so, if somebody in the city has a neighbor that they think is selling drugs, and they call us and tell us about that, so we may put that in our desk book for we need to, check on that location, and we drive by and check on it. But that's not necessarily something that we want going public on the website, given an exact address of something like that. And not only, does that put too much information out there, but it could possibly, put the neighbor at risk of the individual finding out about it, and then just, being able to assess, who might have provided some information to us. And so we're still trying to tweak this to where, the residents that are asking for more patrols and because they don't see officers all the time, we're trying to find a component in a way that we can log that information into the system to where the residents still may not see the officer or the patrol car when it rides by, but they have something that they can go back to and they can look and see, and they will be able to see, well, an officer was in my neighborhood, or they did do a directed patrol in my neighborhood. They just didn't see the patrol car when it was coming through. And so that goes into the big thing that drives what the officer's day looks like, and it's the calls for service. And so when we talk about being able to set up to monitor traffic for traffic safety purposes, or just doing regular patrols through a neighborhood, that's the officer's self-initiated activity. That's the officer's free time, so to speak. What drives what the officers do daily are the calls for service that we get. And so far in 2020, we have not had a month where we had less than 2,200 calls for service. So we are always above, we have been this year, always above 2,200 calls for service each month. And so what the graph that you're looking at right here, it just breaks it down. So this is the month of September. And these graphs show just how many calls for service we had each day in the month of September. And so as you can see, it goes up and down. And so this graph right here was the highest that we had in the month, which was September 9th. And we had 97 calls for service that day. Just in one day, 97 calls for service that the officers responded to in that 24-hour period. And the lowest day we had was September 30th, and that was 50. And so as you can see, it's almost doubled the level of activity that the officers were having to deal with, from the highest day in the month to the lowest day in the month. And so that drives, their free time, or, how much time they have to direct to traffic safety measures, or, directed patrols in neighborhoods like people want to see. And so, they may go into their day and they may check the desk book, and they may plan on going to all of the, the locations in their sector that has been highlighted. But if that's one of the days where, okay, it's a 97, it's a 95 calls for that day, they're not going to have the time to get through all of that stuff and to check all of that stuff. And so, this is another one of the contributing factors to, to how much we're able to get out there and address some of the traffic problems or just riding through the neighborhood so people see us. It's largely driven by the calls for service and where the calls are happening. This next graph that we're looking at, this is a breakdown of 7 days a week. So this column over here is 1 is Sunday and 7 is Saturday. And then 0 is midnight and it goes to 23, which is 11 o'clock p.m. And so the shaded in area, how dark the area is how busy we are at that time of day. And so, around 1500, that's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we see if we come down this line, Monday through Friday around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're busy. And so this is a good reference, and this is on our dashboard on our website, for residents to be able to look and see, like, this is, once again, we're talking about the calls for service. So this is what is driving, how the officers are spending their time. And as you can see, when, around 8 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday, really 7, between 7 and 8 a.m. is when the day really gets started. And it doesn't slow down until around 11 to midnight that evening when we start seeing the shaded area. And so a lot of the neighborhood patrols and a lot of business patrols where, officers are just riding around to check on things, a lot of those don't happen until this time period right here between 1 and 5, 6 in the morning. Once again, a lot of our residents are not up, at that time, or they're not looking outside, so they don't see a patrol car drive through their neighborhood or drive down their street. And typically, before we added the code, we wouldn't ask the officers to log that any kind of specific way. But just looking at all of the complaints that we get from the community around that, that's why we've added that code. And now we're trying to direct them more to use those codes, to log, what they're doing, where ordinarily it's just them riding around and it's just regular patrol. And so regular patrol, we wouldn't have to try to document that specifically, but with all the complaints that we get from the residents and people feeling as though that an officer never drives through their neighborhood, we've added this component just so people have something, a reference to go back to. But as we can see, we're driven by the calls for service, and typically, every day for between 8 and at least 10 or 11 o'clock at night, is when we're the most busy. And so a lot of the extra patrols aren't done until later on in the evening, where residents may not be up or may not be outside to see the patrol car that's riding through. So once again, just trying to encourage the community members, if you have a specific request, or, if there's something that's going on, send it here. You can call in the dispatch and have them added into the desk book. You can send an email to the Ferguson report at fergusoncity.com to have it added in. But I just want to, reiterate that we don't see all the social media posts and all the comments that go out on social media. And so if that's the only place, where it's being noted, we may not get wind of what the complaint and what the issue is. Last couple of things that I want to show. So this is the last 28 days of where property crime looks like in the city. And so this is another thing that contributes to where the officers are and where they spend their time. And so this line right here where it says Dalewood, that's Chambers in Hereford. And so if we just kind of use that to divide the city, and so everything to the north of that, we just put in the north sector of the city, and everything below is the south sector of the city. All right, we see, the last 28 days, the last month essentially, where our property crime, has been largely, based in the bottom half of the southern part of the city. And so when those calls for service are coming out, and if the overwhelming majority of them are down here, then this is where the officers are going to spend, most of their time, because this is where they're being directed to go. And so, sometimes, with our staffing levels, that may mean that we have to bring an officer from the north side down here to the south side if this is where, they're busiest at that time. And so that's another thing that contributes to where, certain parts or certain neighborhoods may not see an officer riding through that neighborhood as often as they would like. And the same thing bodes for our violent crime over that same time period. As we can see, the bulk of it is in the southern part of the city. And so once again, that's driving where the officers are spending their time and where they're responding to. And so that has an impact, not just on, what's going on in these neighborhoods in this part of the city, but it also has an impact in the northern part, because once again, we're having to divert our resources, to the other part of the city. And so, those residents in those neighborhoods, may not be getting the patrols that they would like to get. And so, of course, we're still, working on recruiting. Actually, I just got a finished background packet this evening. So, we still have several positions to fill. We're still, actively working on that. Trying to put more officers out there. But I just wanted to show this information and just try to explain some, so the residents have a little bit better understanding of why they may not see us in some areas as often as they would like, and it's largely driven by where the calls are coming in any particular day, and how that can go up and down from any particular day also. The last thing that I want to present and close out on is just, with COVID has changed a lot of things for us, but we're still trying to stay connected and with the community and community outreach and things. And so, some of the events that we participated in, like I mentioned earlier, the Old Ferguson West Neighborhood Association had a virtual meeting. Ferguson Florissant School District, one of the elementary schools, reached out to us because they were talking about laws and rules. And so I participated in the virtual discussion with them. We had the mayor's town hall meeting a little while ago. Proud hosted a consent decree discussion forum that we participated in. Also participated in the community cleanup that was last weekend. This past weekend, Greater Grace Church hosted a parking lot tailgate event that we participated in, and then also the Ferguson Ministers Alliance meeting participated in that. So we're still trying to be involved and stay connected, when it comes to the community outreach and engagement stuff, even dealing with the COVID virus, still being an important thing that we all need to be mindful of. That's all that I have. Let's see, where do I go to? Octavia, do you have to unshare? Because I don't see it on my screen.
You should have something that says stop sharing.
Okay, all right, I found it.
I can do that.
All right, there we go.
Any questions for Chief Armstrong? No? All right, thank you very much, Chief. I just have a couple of quick updates for you. One is we should be exchanging or picking up the demo properties at the end of this week. So that's finally moving along after a long delay. Second item, I just was made aware yesterday of a non-conforming street sign in the downtown business district. I really don't have a whole lot of information about it, and I certainly don't have a disposition right now, but as soon as I do, I will update you. And that's all. Oh, sorry, one more item. I'm very pleased to announce that we've hired a replacement for Matt, and we're just thrilled to have him on board. His name is Don Boyce, B-O-Y-C-E. He's on our call tonight. And Don, say a few words to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Don Boyce. As Jeff just said, I'm very excited to join the team at Ferguson. I'm looking to do great things in the city of Ferguson, and I'm very excited. I'm in the middle of driving home at the moment.
Okay.
Welcome.
Welcome,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Don. One final item for everybody. County Executive Sam Page announced at his his press conference yesterday that those municipalities that had successfully completed step one of the distribution of funds under the CARES Act should be receiving cash this week. So if we receive that, when we receive that, I will let you know. But right now, it's scheduled to happen. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Interim City Manager. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing. Citizen comments were accepted via email on Monday, October the 12th at 5 p.m. Also, citizens interested in speaking may note in the chat box their interests or use the raise hand feature. Each speaker will be asked to provide their name and contact information. At this time, Interim City Manager.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor. I will begin the hearing because this is an issue that is near and dear to my heart. This is a public hearing amending Chapter 49, zoning regulations, Section 24, site plan review, by refining the definition of minor site plan to exclude vertical additions over 1 story and adding other requirements to clarify said definition. And it came to my attention some time ago that this particular section of the code was wanting. And at the end of the day, folks, every city, every town has code that made a lot of sense when it was passed. And years later, sometime later, we find that it doesn't work as well as it used to, or we find unintended consequences. And this is one of those times. And so I asked Director Elliot Liebson to address this matter with the Plan Commission. And it took a decent amount of time for them to work their way through it. And I am just thrilled with the work that they have done because I think they've come up with a great definition that really narrows the scope of minor site plans. And minor site plans will continue not to be reviewed by Plan Commission, but I think it's worth noting at this moment in time, just to give you an idea of the addition, and I know everybody's read it, but I'll read it one more time, the addition that's been made. So minor site plans shall be defined as plans for the expansion, change in use, or redevelopment of a site that already contains a building or buildings. What we've done is, or what the Plan Commission has done is they've added the following verbiage: that does not result in any new dwelling units, require any additional street access, road, or internal circulation improvements, in other words, HVAC, or significantly more than 50% alter the exterior facade, and shall not consist of any development which adds more than 1,000 square feet or 10% of existing gross floor area, whichever is less of a new impermeable surface or gross floor area. It gets everything that's material, everything that's big that should be reviewed, and leaves decks and those kinds of things not to be reviewed. So I'm really pleased at the work that's been done. And that's all I have on that. Any questions?
Do we need to make a motion to approve, or?
No, we'll get.
No, we're not finished yet,
Okay.
Councilman. Elliot, does he have anything to say?
I think he got booted out. I don't think he's on the call right now. He texted me a little bit ago and said he wasn't on the call.
Mayor Jones, can I speak?
Okay. At this time, any questions or comments from the council while we wait on Elliot to get back on?
I actually do. This is Fran, Mayor Jones. So I think the Planning Commission worked very, very hard on this. They had the definition of working together because, initially as it stood, there were some things that as far as the planning commission was concerned, kind of put the city at risk, you know, in terms of just leaving some open spaces there. So they were able to hash it out. And I really appreciate the volunteers that serve on these commissions, because these are people that with skilled backgrounds and extensive knowledge in these areas. Just so to be able to sit back and watch them work and come together was amazing. And so I just want to appreciate the Planning Commission for their hard work again. It was needed. It was very necessary.
Thank you. Elliot, are you back on?
I believe I am. Can you hear me?
Okay, the floor is yours.
Well, the only thing I want to add, just to augment what Jeff said, was that the role of the Plan Commission is, you know, looking at potential impacts on this area in the vicinity of property to ensure consistency with good planning practice and consider high standards of site design for the general welfare of the city and its residents. And this really does that. As Jeff pointed out, if it's a small piece that's not going to have a significant impact, like if they're building a roof shed, an equipment shed on the top of a roof, it's really not a point for the Plan Commission to get involved. But if you're talking about residential, you're talking about adding enough that you start creating some serious parking, or you're changing the facade. Those are the things that really impact those areas that I just mentioned that are the purview of the Plan Commission review. And again, as Jeff mentioned, this really hits that without being too restrictive. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Elliot. Any other council member would like to speak? Comment? I would just like to say, Elliot, you and the Plan Commission are doing a phenomenal job. I was on the call of the last meeting, and it's just amazing how the group of you all work to betterment the city and make certain that things are safe for the residents. So I appreciate the Plan Committee. So thank you for your work. Okay, Clerk Pittman, do you have any comments that were submitted by email or in the chat box, or anyone raising their hand at this time?
No, I don't have any comments.
No comments? We'll close the public hearing. Our consent agenda. Does anyone have any necessary corrections to the minutes? The council meeting minutes for September the 22nd. I hear none. I would like to entertain a motion and a second to approve the minutes of council meeting minutes September the 22nd. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilman Fry motion and Councilwoman Burrows seconded. I got it correct this time. Okay, all in favor? Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The next item on our consent agenda is the council assignment to boards and commission. We bringing this back again, and it's a council appointment list for 2019. At this point, we did hear a lot of the council members saying they're working diligently with their boards and commissions, and they would like to stay where they are. And we do recognize that and understand that, because it's very important to the citizens that we keep consistency. And so the only change that's going to be made is I asked Councilman Stephen Garrett to take the landmarks, and he accepted. So as of now, does everyone agree to go back and serve on the boards and commissions that they have? I see a lot of nodding up and down. So thank you very much. Let's move on to requests. Clerk Pittman, would you explain to us about our liquor license?
Yes, so we have a request for a new liquor license, and that's for the Cracker Barrel Old Country Store, and that's at 10915 New Halls Ferry Road. So they have gone through the process, and there's no objections to them having their license approved. So staff recommends approval of it. And this, so that everyone knows, it's a beer and wine license.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Councilman Byron Fry, motion. Councilwoman Burrows, she second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, so ordered.
And then next we have our annual renewals. And so we have now the City of Ferguson. So we get a license for our community center and also our stand at Forestwood Park. And the other one is for Blessed Teresa Calcutta. And before we approve this, I just want to make sure that I note, so Blessed Teresa, we're going to do that one conditional because they are still working to meet all of the requirements. And when I say meet all the requirements, and that's just getting in all the documentation necessary to get in for approval. But for the City of Ferguson, we've already gone through all that process. I think it's worthy to also note that while many of our vendors this year went through the conditional process, and in that we gave them additional time to meet all the requirements. Sometimes we have to do that just because the license times differ, and that's from when they apply with the state and with county, and this year also adding to go and get their background checks. But a lot of that just kind of was thrown out of, all out of whack with COVID. So I wanted to mention that because the last time we did an approval, one of the council members questioned why they were all up for conditional, and that's kind of why. So we're hoping next year that we'll be back to the regular schedule and everyone's able to meet all the requirements at first glance.
Great. For the annual renewal for the City of Ferguson, we'll do that first. A motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Seconded.
Councilwoman Burrow moved. Councilman Fry seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. For Blessed Teresa for conditional license, is there a motion in a second?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Councilman Fry moved. Councilman Burrows second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
I do want to say I moved and then Fry second, but I want to thank Octavia for giving that review because last year it was confusing. And so reiterating how that came to be, I appreciate that.
Thank you. City Clerk, would you explain item number 3?
Okay, and then lastly, annually, we look at the calendar, and because our meetings in November and December are close to the holidays, sometimes that poses conflict. So what we've been doing is requesting to cancel those meetings. And so at this time, we're requesting to cancel the November meeting, November 24th, and then also December 22nd.
Great. A motion and a second.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Seconded.
You guys can have it.
Let's get that.
Second.
Let's get that.
My
together.
screen froze. Okay, is there a motion and a second to approve November the 24th, 2020 and December 22nd as not holding council meeting. Is there
So
a
moved.
motion?
Second.
Seconded.
I froze. Oh, no, I didn't.
I have Fry and Griffin.
That's right.
You gotta wait for her to finish reading it, Fry, because she can't hear you.
I think we did lose
Oh,
the
I
mayor as
I
well.
turned it. I gotta
What
turn
was
my mic
that?
up. Okay. I turned my volume up.
Uh-oh.
And we
I
may
think
have
she's frozen.
I think we've lost the mayor, unfortunately.
I guess, hey, Jeff, can you go in there and let her know what she, yep. Jeff to rescue.
Looks like she got tossed all the way out. She's relogging in right now.
Whoa.
Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Why it kicks me out, I don't know.
That's that
So,
Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now?
okay, so we did have a motion. We did have a second. Is that not correct?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
you, okay. So are we ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you all. We have several resolutions for tonight. Resolution number 2020-41. Without objections, we're introduced by council members present. I hear none. Attorney Carey, would you please read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2020-41, a resolution appropriating additional funds amending the 2020-2021 budget.
Interim City Manager.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor. Mayor and Council, you'll recall that there are two items here. One is to make appropriation for settlement of litigation. The second, and really kind of more important, is the Stanley lock system, which we talked about last week at the CIP meeting. This really has two components. The first component is to fix or replace the lock system at Firehouse 1 and 2 because they don't work. But for some time. Yeah, I know. And that's a bad thing. The second is we discovered just recently that we've never paid for maintenance. And so we've had tremendous difficulty getting the system serviced over the last umpteen years. And so we will initiate a service plan as well. And then once we do that, we'll also start upgrading the software because we haven't upgraded the software since it got installed 7 or 8 years ago. So I would strongly encourage passage of this item. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to entertain a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2020-41.
So move.
Seconded.
It has been properly moved and second by Councilwoman Fran Griffin and second by Councilman Byron Fry. Clerk Pittman, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Fry.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Aye.
Okay. Councilwoman Griffin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette.
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Garrett.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 2020-42, without objections, will be introduced with council members present. Hearing none. Attorney Carey, would you please read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2020-42, a resolution to hold the general municipal election on Tuesday, April 6th, 2021 in the city of Ferguson, Missouri, for the election of 3 council members, 1 from each ward.
Clerk Pittman, would you please explain?
Yes, so the city charter requires us to adopt a resolution calling for the election. And so this would call for the election, the general municipal election, April 6, 2021.
Thank you. I would like to entertain a motion and a second for approval.
So move.
So move.
Second it.
We had 2 motions to approve it, Councilwoman Borough and Councilman Griffin, and Councilman Fry seconded. Clerk Pittman, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Griffin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Burrow,
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Garrett,
Aye.
Councilman Fry.
Aye.
I have a question, Octavian. Robert Rules of Order. Do we take 2 people or 2 so moves? Or is it 1?
I just take the first person.
Okay. I just want to say to Mayor Jones, we did that twice tonight. And so it's the first person and we only do 1. That's
Yeah.
Robert's.
Yeah, no, we do 1. I was telling her 2 of them. I knew she would select the first one.
Okay. I didn't know that that's what you would do. That's why I wanted to be clear.
Thank you. Okay. Resolution number 2020-42 passes. Resolution number 2020-43, without objections, we're introduced by council member present. I hear none. Attorney Carey, would you please read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2020-43, a resolution to transfer special use permit number 96-146 to BRG Liberty LLC with no changes in the stipulations and conditions of operation on the site.
Interim City Manager Bloom, would you please explain?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. This resolution is regarding a special use permit. The Burger King on West Florissant Road operates under this special use permit. The property is changing hands from one owner to another, and as such, we have the ability and option to transfer that special use permit to the new owner, and I would encourage us to do so.
Thank you.
Does that mean we get better service?
Okay.
We can only hope.
Yeah. I would like to entertain a motion and a second for approval.
So move.
Seconded.
I heard Byron first, so Councilman Byron Fry, motion. Councilwoman Griffin, second.
Second.
Okay. Clerk Pittman, would you please call the roll?
Okay.
Councilwoman Burrow,
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Garrett,
Aye.
Councilman Fry,
Aye.
Councilwoman Griffin.
Aye.
Resolution number 2020-43 passes. Bills requiring first reading. Bill number 7196. Without objection, we're introduced by council members. Attorney Carey, would you please read the bill by title only?
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 7196, an ordinance amending chapter 49 of the zoning code of the city ordinances of the city of Ferguson, Missouri regarding minor site plan review.
Interim City Manager, would you please explain to us?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Mayor. Thank you very much. And Mayor and Council, this ordinance codifies the changes that I read to you earlier, and I would encourage you to approve it.
Thank you. At this time, no action is taken for the first reading. We don't have any unfinished business, and we don't have any bills requiring second reading. So we move to the miscellaneous part of our meeting. After talking with City Manager Bloom, we thought we would put the branding, the rebranding item here, and we need to hear from the council. What do you want to do with the rebranding?
So the rebranding with the new logo and all of that, that's what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay.
That was the question I had too.
So I guess my question is, did we find out if we own it outright once it's handed over, that we can adjust the logo as we see fit, or do we have to continue to carry on what Avant put forward? Do we know? Like based on contract, Jeffrey, do you know, or Elliot or anybody?
I do not.
Okay.
Can I ask a question of Councilman Garrett?
Mhm.
Can you tell me your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think we definitely need to review the contract that we have with Avant and see where we stand currently as far as going forward in execution. I do believe that there's still some consideration we have to take as far as the mark and then deployment strategies, and then how are we going to fully encompass the work that has been done, and then how we're going forward as a city and embracing that look and feel. So I do think that we need to see the paperwork as far as where we stand with Avant, how we move forward, and then how we get to an end product that we're all satisfied with, and definitely minimize any more costs that we have to take on. If we can avoid taking on any at all, that would be the most ideal scenario.
Councilman Mary Knowles, I have Mary Knowles.
I'm not Knowles, I'm Jones.
Mary Knowles is just in my head. Ella, what I'd like to consider is that I have some questions as what Garrett had to say, as well as Robinette. So I have worked up a sheet on rebranding that I didn't see come forward from looking at what we have. So I think that we need to take a real close look, because we could get ourselves in trouble if we don't cross the T's and dot the I's. So would there be a work session that we could do to hand it off to somebody to say, hey, take a look at this and see what you think? Or do you want me to just submit my questions to somebody in charge?
Well, first thing that came up, we need to look at the actual contract as to what we said we was going to do with Avant. And then, Jeff, did they give us a date in which they would like for us to get back with them?
Muted.
You
I'm sorry.
muted.
Sorry. Yes, they did. It was the 15th, which is this Thursday. But we'll call them and tell them that we're not going to make that date.
Okay.
So back to my question, the answer on that would be?
What answer are they expecting from us? What is Avant hoping to achieve by the 15th? Just so we understand.
Closing out the project.
Okay.
Well, that's not going to happen.
So
we got more work to do.
yeah, because it did sound like they were trying to take into consideration the financial aspect of that. But I think, it would be worth it for us to just literally like pull out the contract. Let's look
Right.
at it. Let's see what it says specifically we can do. And we can still, honor that. Let's give a response at the very least by that date.
Right.
But we should have enough time to be able to review it.
Right, because I tell you, friend, I'm with you. When you look at it, you're going to see there are a lot of questions that are not answered.
Okay. Attorney Apollo, would you work with interim city manager Jeff Bloom to get the contract? And Councilwoman Barrow, do you want to submit your questions after they review the contract and get back with us, or you want to submit your questions beforehand?
I'd like to work with Garrett, and what I think should happen is, rather than having to review the contract, if they have what I'm looking at and what Garrett is talking about, then they would know what they're looking for, and they wouldn't be looking for the needle in the haystack. What do you think about that, Jeff? You still muted?
No, I'm not muted. I think you're substantially right. I think we just need to take a look at the contract and see who owns what.
Okay, so that's the first thing that we need to do is take a look at the contract.
Okay.
Okay,
We got it done tomorrow.
okay, that'll be good.
I can make myself available if need be.
Okay, that'll be good. Is everyone agreeing to that? Okay, good. Okay, great. Great, need agreement. Any other miscellaneous at this time? We're on a Zoom call and it's for the good of the city. Anyone would like to share?
I do, Mayor. Go ahead. I can go after you guys are done.
Okay. Councilwoman Fran, you had your hand up.
I think I saw Heather. Go ahead, Heather.
Okay, Mayor Jones, I would just like to give some feedback regarding the mayor's town hall, some of the feedback that I've gotten, and then some of my own that I'd like to give. Residents were upset that they turned in questions and there weren't any questions answered. A lot of people took a lot of time to submit those, and others felt that it was more of a staff reading town hall than a mayor's town hall. And so I just wanted to give you that feedback. I think what hit me the most, you recall when you won the election, I went over and congratulated you and said that I would work with you and we would work together, and you said, yes, we will work together. And so you can imagine my sincere disappointment when you unveiled your task force without consulting any of city council, as far as I know. So I just wanted to give you that feedback that I was really disappointed that you hadn't even put it in front of us even a week ahead of time, regardless of all the work that was done. You denied us the chance to weigh in based on our community knowledge, and I sincerely hope that doesn't happen again. Thank you.
Point well taken. Okay.
So I actually wanted to comment on the very same thing, actually, the town hall. I was blown away. I was very surprised. As you all know, I've been trying to get a discussion with the council in an attempt for us all to work together and just have a discussion on a topic that, although it may be touchy, it's a touchy subject. It was something that we had the opportunity to all come together and try to work on something for the greater good of the community. And so to not even have that second motion, not once, not twice, but 3 times, to me was a little disheartening, because I genuinely did want us to have an opportunity to come together, even if it was on something that we didn't agree about, and just have the conversation. And so when I watched the town hall and listened to the whole intent of the task force that you put together, Mayor Jones, it spoke to what my intentions were with the reparations resolution in the first place. And so I absolutely love that you did what was in your power to try to move this city forward. And yes, it didn't have the word reparations. It didn't have, we're not looking at historically what has been done and impacted the city of Ferguson overall, but it was talking about moving the city forward, about creating stability, about small businesses, about, looking at it from a cultural perspective, all of those things. And I just want to thank you, because you don't know how many times I have heard from residents that they appreciate the fact that somebody is listening to them. Somebody is at least taking into consideration what it is that they have concerns as just a resident within the community about. And so I think that you definitely did that, Mayor Jones. You did that. And I appreciate it, because it's not something easy to do. And I am actually very hopeful just looking at all of the different corporations that you brought in. You brought in all of these local corporations to work together towards a common goal to actually push this city forward, to provide some stability, to give some assistance to people that need it in the community. And I am just so excited to see what comes out of this. I'm excited to see how we as a community, not just as a city council, but as a community, can push things forward in a way that improves the lives of everybody. And so I just want to thank you on behalf of the residents that I represent. I've heard nothing but good things about it. And I just want to thank you again, because what wasn't possible for us to do as a council, you were able to use the power that the citizens of the city of Ferguson gave you to do what was necessary. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else had their hand up that I don't see? Okay, Councilman Fry.
Oh, just real quick. Thank everyone who came out for Ferguson Cleanup Day. It was a Saturday morning, and I definitely went and got in bed, but I volunteered, and hey, we kicked butt. Hopefully people stop littering trash, but hey, not keep hope alive.
Okay, great. Great. Anyone else?
I still needed a minute, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Okay. So first, for the record, with us canceling the 2 council meetings, I wanted to announce the meeting dates coming up. So of course we have October the 27th, but for the month of November, we're going to have November 10th. And for the month of December, we're going to have December the 8th. I also want, I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, okay. I also wanted to announce with the adoption of the resolution and the upcoming election date, that residents or anyone interested in filing for election is required to have a petition of the citizens, between 50 and 75 residents signed. That petition will be available in the city clerk's office Monday, November 2nd. And so that you are aware, the filing dates for this upcoming election, normally I would make this announcement at the last meeting in October, but I won't be at that particular meeting, so I'm gonna go ahead and announce it now. The filing dates for the upcoming election, it's gonna begin December 15th, and it will close January the 19th, 2021. But more information about this will be out. There'll be a notice in the Ferguson Times as usual, and it'll also be published on our website and everywhere. But the main thing is the petition is going to be available in the city clerk's office November the 2nd.
Thank you. Thank you. As far as the town hall and the questions, a decision was made to put the questions and answers on the website. And if you go to the website and you go to government and drop down to town hall, all the questions are out there with answers. We didn't put any one name out there, only the questions and only the answers. At this time, interim city manager, his report is out there. and my report is forthcoming as to what I talked about, along with all the bios of the various businesses who taken part in the task force. Right now, I could tell you about the task force. We have so many companies that want to be a part of it. And we are still working through a list of companies. We don't want to leave anyone out. They are coming back to the council meeting to introduce themselves. So it was not intentional. It was more or less, let's get it together to make the very first step. So at this time,
Excuse me, Ella, what was not intentional?
when I say was not intentional, it was to forget to introduce, give the council information about the task force beforehand. That was not intentional. We were working. We were working. So that's okay.
I'm gonna wait till you get done. I have a comment about that.
And what is your comment?
I'll wait till you get done. I thought you were done. Are you done with about the task?
I am done traditionally.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Two things. The first thing is that we are a council, and in my mind, before you go outside of the council, working is fine, but I'm gonna go back to what Heather said. Your first stop, just like that contract, you're gonna go back to the contract. Your first stop to be with the council. I asked Jeff Bloom last week about the CARES Act, and he never consulted not one of us on the council, because I asked him, not one of us. This keeps going on and on. I've been talking about this for 2.5 years. You do things and then you say, duly noted. Oh, okay, my mistake. And it was like Byron was saying earlier, when you get tired of something, you talk about inclusion. Your inclusion starts with the council. I'm getting questions right now from that meeting. You remember we talked about it, what kind of meeting you were saying? It was both meetings. I'm still getting questions from citizens saying, can she do that? How can that be done? Don't you have to go through the council? One of the things about the CARES Act, no matter what comes, you should always go through the council first. It was general courtesy. It should have been, oh, well, we've given you permission to work on our behalf. Even in your case, we give you permission to speak for the city, but you don't come and tell us nothing that you do before you do it. And so who are you working for? I mean, who's on first, who's on third? Who's really running the city? I've asked that question, and I've sent it to the council. You start with the council. So, and then like Councilman Griffith, she was happy about what you did, but here's the thing. When she was asking for a second, I don't know if she knew you could have seconded any time. You could have seconded the first, the second, or the third time. You could have seconded if that's what you were going after what she wanted, then let it be known. You could second it, but you never did. So what I'm looking for is when you say inclusion, be inclusive. Start with your council. We're not a team here. And we want a council without a leader, because if you can grab up many companies that want to be a part of this, well, hello, we don't know none of them, and we don't know anything until we hear it either. And see, I'm not checking city business on Facebook. I'm not going to do that ever. We do city business right here. And so I'm not going to go for somebody to tell me what you said or Sally or Joe said on Facebook. We do our business here. And I'm disappointed, deeply disappointed in what's going on here. I'm used to a leader. If you don't have the leader leading, we just out for a stroll. That's my comment. The second comment is that we are looking to have from the CRB some training. I've mentioned this about 2 or 3 times. Well, this is my 4th time. That we would like to bring to the city, to the public, the training that we have taken through NACO. And we have some pieces of their training that they're giving us permission to give the PowerPoint presentations and the panel presentations at will. And so we'd like to make some meetings for when we can do that. And I have a lot of people that are interested, and what it does is makes them know what policemen are getting trained on. So that's my comment for miscellaneous. Thank you so much for listening.
Okay, let me share one thing. When Councilwoman Fran Griffin was making her motions, the chair traditionally don't second motions. The chair leads the meeting. The chair does not second motions. In addition to that, let me call for adjournment before I, is there a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay.
I'd like a comment on what you just said, because
I called
go
for
to
a motion.
And you didn't get a second.
And it has been,
to discuss. I got an opportunity to
Councilman
discuss.
Fry, did you so move?
And we got no seconds.
Is there a
That's why I can
second?
discuss. There's no second. That's why I can discuss. So I'm asking Octavia for the Robert's Rules of Order. That's what we go by. The chair can second. And we have the attorney here. Is the attorney still available? That's the question. Is the attorney still available?
I'm here.
Thank you. I got a question. I need an answer. Is the chair allowed to make a second? Any motion?
I don't know the direct answer to that question. Historically, the chair has not done so and doesn't lead the meeting, but if you'll keep talking and you give me 2 minutes, I'll find that out for you.
Okay, I know that it can happen, so I'll wait for you. Thank you.
As speaking to working together, and you say working together as a council, ever since I've been elected to sit in this seat, if I make a suggestion to go right, some make the suggestion to go left. And according to talking to the attorney, I did have every right to form a ad hoc committee. The mayor does have that right to do that, and I did.
Nobody has denied.
It was nothing intended. It was nothing intended to be disrespectful or anything else. As I was working and worked, and we did it, and we formed the ad hoc committee, which is the task force.
Who is we?
The mayor of the city of Ferguson. I did.
Okay, then don't say we, because you didn't. It's not a we. You're an individual. It's you. And when you talk about that it was not intentional, you passed up 6 folks, the council. You named all these business people that you contacted and had presentations. You passed up 6 folks. And when you had the meeting, you said, and to the council, you said, and you invite, and you can come too, if you want. I can get that out for you. Those were your words. Oh, by the way, council can come to this meeting I'm having. Come on. I mean, really?
When things seem to not to go the way you want it to go, then you find fault in everybody else. And that is not the way things.
Be careful, because what you're doing right now is a fallacy. Think about it. Be careful. I'm just giving you some information. I'm helping you right now.
I don't think so, Apollo.
I'm telling you, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about it. I'm telling you, I'm helping you right now. Be careful, because what you just said is a fallacy. Be careful.
So according to Robert's Rules of Order, there is nothing that necessarily stops. Well, there's no specific language that stops a chair from seconding a motion. However, There is discussion in Robert's Rules of Order that a second to a motion is designed to let the chair know that more than one member of a board feels like a motion is worthy of discussion. And so what it says here is that because that a second is designed to tell the chair that a motion is worthy of discussion, it makes little sense for a chair to second that motion.
But it does not stop a chair from
But it
saying.
doesn't stop, but there is nothing specific that says a chair can't second a motion.
In many cases, the chair have made a motion. I will second the motion to adjourn from Mr. Fry.
Okay, it has been properly moved and second to adjourn the meeting. The motion by Councilman Fry, second by Councilwoman Burrow. Are you ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Everyone have a great night tonight.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.